Hi everyone, this is Vanessa at Team Simplify. We are super excited because we have launched the open beta of our new version of Simplify, Simplify version 2. So it's still in beta, which means that we're still making some improvements and tweaks to it, but it's now open to everybody that has a Simplify account to have a play with it, or even if you're on a free trial, as long as you've got a login and an active way of using Simplify, whether it's through a paid subscription or the trial, you can play with it. So I'm going to show you in this video how you switch over to the beta mode and all the new features. So this is aimed at people who are familiar with the current version of Simplify, so I'll just be concentrating on all the new stuff. I will soon be doing a full training video for the new version as well. Okay, so when you log into Simplify, it looks pretty much as you're used to, except we've added this green bar along the top, and this gives you a link here to opt into the beta mode. There's also a link in the account page. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can go here, opt into the beta. So we'll opt in. That will then switch you over to the new version. Don't worry, the two are completely compatible. So if you've got lists in one version, they'll be in the other, and vice versa. So don't worry at all if you need to switch back and forth. Hopefully you won't need to. Hopefully you'll really like the new version and just stay there. But yes, if you do need to switch back, you've got the beta opt-out button here. And similarly, if you go into your account settings, which are now here under My Simplify, you've also got an option here, opt out of the beta program. And you can switch back and forth as much as you like, as I say. So this is the new dashboard. It obviously looks quite different, but some of the things are much the same as they were before. So the list manager in particular and the list tools are pretty much the same as you're used to. So if we go into the list manager here, it looks pretty much like it did before. You've got all of your lists here. Your regular lists have got a green bar under, and your contrast lists have a blue bar under them. And you go here to create a new list, choose your list type, etc., exactly as you're used to doing. It's kind of everything else that's changed, I would say. So first up, we've got this navigation bar on the side, which is a small change but actually makes quite a big difference, particularly with things like using two-device mode. If you're wanting to use two-device mode on the same device, so with two separate browser windows, or you're wanting to kind of switch around and get activities ready while you're doing something else, and it just makes it much easier to navigate around. Okay, so I'm going to show you now what we've done with the activity manager. So previously, with the activities, all you could do was pick the game or activity that you wanted to use and sort of set up your game settings and play the game. You weren't able to save it. You can now. So this is something that lots of people have requested, and hopefully it's going to save you lots more time. So you'll see on here that you've got your saved activities and then simplify activities. So this is just like the lists where you have your own lists and then you have our Simplify lists at the bottom. We've just created a selection of activities really just to demonstrate some of the things that you can do and to give you some content to get you started. We will gradually build that up over time and add more activities on there. Maybe let us know what you'd like to see on there, or the sorts of activities that you feel are real kind of bread and butter that will be useful for all therapists or lots of therapists to have. Or schools as well, and we can always add them in anytime. So what you do is you go here to create an activity, new activity. This is the activity page that you're hopefully used to seeing. So you've got your cards, auditory discrimination, categories, and our new game, which is naming, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And you create an activity just like you did before. So we're going to do an auditory discrimination one. We'll go for my fronting list, and we'll leave it in therapy mode. So that has opened up our runner, which looks slightly different now. So we've made a few changes to the runner. For one, if you're doing a minimal pairs auditory discrimination, activity, all of your pairs or contrasts are displayed here. So rather than having to open up a separate little pop-up window to get to them, they're just there and you can switch between them as much as you like. And you can see here what the monsters are currently. And then if we go over to the playground, there they are. So we've got tick and kick. And what's really useful with this is that you can see what they're eating. So if we send, let's send kick. So I'm going to give that to the kick monster. And if you look over here, you can see the kick symbol is hovering over the kick monster. Now that was quite quick because obviously I had to switch between the two tabs. But if you were using this in a real clinical situation, your client would have the game on their device and you would just stay on the runner. So that's the idea really of adding in the monsters here, is that you don't need to keep switching back and forth between the two devices or two browser windows. You can just stay on here and manage everything from this one window. So what I will do now is show you how we might create a card game, because this is where the saving comes in really useful, I think, particularly for the card games. It's useful for all of them, but I'm going to show you how we can create and then save a card game. So that last minimal pairs one that I did for auditory discrimination, I didn't save it. It was just a quick game I wanted to do and not come back to, so I've not hit save that time. So you don't have to save them, but I find particularly if you're wanting to plan ahead and prepare an activity before a session, and I would say particularly for cards, categories as well. If you're setting up, maybe 5 different categories and you want to give them all an image and text, and there's quite a lot of faff there, I guess. So it can be useful for that as well. So if I do a card game, and I'm going to use my cat and dog rhymes, I'm going to add in some boxes. So I'll have a cat box, a dog box, and let's go for a blue background. That's going to create our session. It's opened up the runner and it's all automatically switched over in the playground. There we go. Then I'm going to send over all my @rhymes. I give those all a blue border. And in fact, we're going to do a pairs game with it. So I'm going to send them all over twice, with the blue border. And then we're going to send our dog rhymes. Let's give them a red border. Okay, so there they all are. So I might just spread them out a little bit. Now you'll see that this is another change we've recently made. The cards are no longer on a jaunty angle. When we launched, we thought it was quite cute having them all a bit wibbly wobbly and jaunty, but actually we found that mainly kids found it really annoying and they would constantly try and straighten them up because they wanted to lay them out in order to make a sentence or whatever. So we decided to straighten them up. So hopefully nobody misses that too much. But it was sort of general consensus was, lose the jauntiness. But they're still cute with their colourful spots, hopefully. So we'll just get these ones out of the boxes. There we go. So now we've got our matching pairs game ready. And the idea of this would be that you play pairs with it and then your client has to work out whether the pair that they've got is a cat rhyme or a dog rhyme. So that's all laid out, ready to use. So what we can now do is go back to our runner, scroll down, hit save as, and we can call it cat and dog pairs. And we'll save that. And you can see up here, it tells you that the activity's been successfully saved. And then if we go back to our activity manager here, there it is. You can load it and it will take you straight back into the runner and load the game exactly as you had it laid out. And you can log out, log back in, it'll still be there and it will lay it out exactly as you want it. So we could then play the game. I'll just turn lots of them over so you can see that we've moved them around and done different things with them. Oh, that's a bit tricky, isn't it? Hat and sun hat. Let's pop some of these pairs away. So I'm just doing this to show you how it might look after you've finished using it with your client. Okay, so if we leave it there, you can see that we've got some of them, well, most of them turned over, some of them sorted into the boxes. But then if I go back into the activity manager and I load it up again, it puts it right back to the way we saved it. So you can keep using it with different clients, and it will always be as you've saved it. You can then, if you want to, you can use the Save As button. So let's say you made some changes to it, to your activity that was specific to a particular client. Maybe you would, maybe you've got like a narrative game, and then you add in some word cards that are client specific, and you want to keep them for the next session. You could then Save As, give it a new name, and it will save that different layout with the new cards added or whatever as a separate activity in your activity manager over here. So yeah, it's really flexible and will hopefully save you lots of time. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is Simplify Live. I'm really excited about Simplify Live, and I'm hoping it will get round a big problem for quite a lot of people. So this has really been designed for, for teletherapy, but also for situations where you are using a second device which perhaps isn't your own. So you're maybe using a client's device or a device in a school setting, for instance, where you maybe don't want to put your login details in. You don't want that the owner of that device to have potentially access to the rest of your Simplify account. You just want them to have access to the game. It also means that you don't have to use, for teletherapy, it means you don't have to use screen sharing, and you don't have to give remote control. So particularly for those of you for whom that isn't an option, if your IT team perhaps don't give you the security allowances to use those sort of tools, so things like Zoom and Teams where you can screen share and give your client remote control, this completely gets around that. So you don't need to use any tool where you're giving your client essentially access to your device, because all they're doing is connecting to a web page with the game on. You give them a code so that they can go onto it. So it's still private between you and that client, but it's completely secure because there's nothing on there that has any kind of identifying information. You're not giving them access to your Simplify account. It's totally separate. So we really hope that this will be a big help for lots of people. So we've got our game up and running here. We've got our cards laid out and we've got our runner. If you scroll down on the runner and hit Go Live, it brings up a live code for you. So your client just has to go to simplify.live. So it's not .co.uk, it's just .live, and pop in that code. So I'm just going to copy and paste that code. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate Simplify Live in Safari. So I've opened up a Safari window here to show you. This is because I can't show you in Chrome because I'm obviously logged into my Simplify account in Chrome, and the whole point of Simplify Live is it's for using without a login. So I'm showing it to you over here. So if you get your client to go to simplify.live and then you give them the code and they pop it in here and they can join the activity. It might just take a moment to load up. And then there's their game. So that's all they can access. So if they then tried to go onto a different part of Simplify by typing in the URL or whatever, it wouldn't let them. It would just take them back to that screen to put the code in. So that's all you can see on Simplify Live is just the game. And they can play the game exactly as you would normally. And if we go back to our device, so we're imagining that this is, say, in our client's house. This is our device. Obviously, we've got our runner. And if I go over here, look, you can see that they're the cards that the client's turned over. And you can do it either way. So we could move something and then the client can see what's happened. We'll do it that way. And there you go. So it takes a split second to catch up between devices. Yeah, so hopefully that demonstrates how Simplify Live works. Obviously, it's a little bit tricky to show you how two different people can use two different devices when obviously I'm one person on one device, but hopefully that has made some sense. Okay, so that just leaves me to show you our new game, which I'm also very excited about. So this, I actually used this with a few clients when it was in early sort of production, when we were first experimenting with it, and it was really well received. I had some little people that just loved it and found it really good fun, so hopefully you'll find the same. So if we go to new activity and scroll down the bottom to naming. So you can use this game for anything where you want your client to name words, essentially, or request words from you. So you could use it for expressive language assessments, speech assessments. You can use it for speech sound therapy. And I think it particularly lends itself to minimal contrast therapies. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to grab one of my minimal pairs lists. Let's do this one, turn stopping. So our target words in this instance are going to be the S words. So I'm going to select those to be the targets we want to work on. And then we've also got here in our list our essentially error versions of those words. So I've selected those as my targets. Just like the other games, you've got a few options for how the symbols are displayed, and you can put it into assessment mode if you want the errors to be allowed, essentially, so that the client doesn't get feedback. But I'll leave it in therapy mode so I can show you how that looks. And then you can see again over in our playground tab, it's switched over to the game. So it's a little racing car. And it whizzes through lots of different lands and different landscapes until it finds these big walls with gates that have a symbol on them. So they would then say sent. So let's say they got that one right. And what's lovely about it is that it's completely up to you in terms of your judgment of right and wrong. So if they're working on it and they're quite close to that sound, or you know that actually you're just at the beginning of therapy and you don't want them to get too kind of disheartened, then you can make that judgment, as you do in every therapy session, how you give the feedback. So I really like that element of it. So we'll say that they've got that one right. So we've selected sent, and we're going to send that over, and then you can see here that that's on on the playground, and this is the current gate that's on the playground. And the client then just has to drag that up onto that symbol, and if they get it right, it disappears, opens up the gate, and they can whiz through and see which landscape they've got next. We've got a nice tropical desert island, and then we've got our next gate. So let's say this time they get it wrong, they say toe instead of so. We're going to send them the toe symbol, and it's not going to open that gate. Doesn't do anything. It's no good. So that then gives them that feedback that, oh, okay, I need to change it. And, they can see the pictures don't match, so it can't be right. So they've got to change it, say the minimal pair, and get the right one. So then we can send over so. And carry on. And I'll show you what happens. It's just like with the monsters, where I've done that. You can see here it's wiggling this one to say that that's the one that was sent. And it's already showing us the next gate here as well, that will be C. So if I show you that again with an error one, so for C they might say T, we'll send that over. So we've still got the toe symbol there, so I'm going to get rid of that actually. We'll just select that and remove it, because obviously that didn't disappear because it didn't unlock a gate. So if we go back, and our client sees C, but they say T. If I just pop that on there and then go back to the runner, again, you can see here that, okay, they've tried T, but it's C, so they've got it wrong. So you would support them again to figure out how to change it and say C. So yeah, that can just be really useful for not needing to switch back and forth between the different views while you're playing. And in fact, actually on this game, and I think on the monster games, if you've got the playground open on your device and the client has it open on their device, you won't actually see it happening in real time the same as them. So because you're not pressing the go button on your playground for the car, it won't move along at the same pace as theirs. So it's actually quite important to have your device here on the runner so that you can see what's happening on the client's version of it. So I would say to, rather than switching between the tabs, if you're doing the naming game and the monster games, in fact, to stay on here to keep an eye on what's happening. This is obviously if you're using it not face-to-face. If you're face-to-face, you can just look at their device. So we will, oh, there we go, that's the wrong one again. So we're going to send C. Let's send that, and we'll get rid of T. And what I'm going to do before we get our client to give that one to the C gate, I'm going to click here. So once you've gone through as many as you want to, it will just keep cycling through them. So the game doesn't end until you tell it to. So once you're ready to end, you can go here, click me to end the journey. And then if we give them that one, I think, let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's loaded up one more gate. So it always loads up the next gate ahead of the one that you're working on. So the last one will be this one, which is saw. We'll send that over. And then it brings your game to the end. And it should say, yeah, you did it. And off the car whizzes. So that's the end.
You have it, Simplify version 2. Hope you really like it, and hope it helps to make things even quicker and easier in your clinical work. Makes it even more appealing to say, see you later, laminator. Let us know what you think. Okay, bye bye.